Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Chef Yusuf Show, where we learn to cook the Islamic way. This month of Ramadan, we are discovering and learning everything we have to know about soup. Why? Because soup used to be known back in Arabia as al-tharid, and there's a lot of narration and hadith that it used to be the favorite dish of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, we talked about the foundation of making a good soup, which is making a good stock and broth. And I do apologize, you do have to refer back to that episode, because learning how to make stock is a skill that you cannot avoid. You have to have that skill to make any good soup. So the thing is with egg drop soup, this is the soup that you see in the Chinese restaurant. The interesting about the soup, it uses one of the thickening methods that we didn't talk about lately, which is using an egg. Actually, it uses the slurry, which I'll show you as well. But using an egg is one method to thicken a soup. And of course, later on, we'll talk about how mayonnaise itself could be used to thicken soup. We did this in the fish parud when we used the mayonnaise and we cooked it a little bit to thicken the soup. So that is something that we did in the past. So let's go ahead, inshallah, and get started how to make egg drop soup. And as you can see here, we have nothing basically. We just have some stock. We have an egg and some onion or scallion or green onion to go with it. And really, that's really the method is we do have a pan here. We do have some heat. So let's go ahead and add some of the stock to the heat. I'm going to leave a little bit of cold stock here so I can crack my eggs in there. So let's go ahead and crack the egg. And I'm basically doing the Korean method. There are a few methods and different variation. Technically, in the Chinese method, you want to use a little bit of the ginger herbs. Maybe if you want to grate some ginger or maybe add some ginger powder. In Japan, they would go and they would add the soy sauce and they would add maybe something on the maybe garlic side. The Chinese method is also the method that uses the slurry, which I'm not gonna do at this time, but what I'm gonna do to you today is I'm gonna show you the secret of, when you go to that Chinese restaurant and you look at that soup I'm talking about and you see a little bit thin layers of eggs and you wonder how do they do that? Well, I got the tip from a Chinese book and he actually explained it, which I'm gonna show you right now, inshallah. All right, so we have the eggs being beaten. Now let's go ahead and review some of the things we learned in previous episode. So we do have here some stock being warmed up. Okay, now the reason I'm doing this is I don't want to show you instructions and expect you to follow them, but I want to allow you to understand why we do the things that we do. So we do have some soup over here, or some broth or some stock that's being heated, right? So what happened if I added maybe a teaspoon of cornstarch? What would that do? That would thicken. That will be used as a thickening agent. So it is really up to you if you want the egg soup to be on a clear side, silky side, smooth side. Do not add any cornstarch. But if you want to have it the way the Chinese restaurant is, go ahead and add cornstarch a little bit. So you add it right now. You keep mixing it and you keep watching. The longer it simmers, the longer it warms up, the thicker it will get. Okay? So when it comes to the thickness that you like, you can go ahead and turn off the heat and add the eggs at that point. Okay, so let's remove this. What about other things? Can we add some garlic? Of course we can add some garlic. Can we add some ginger? Can we add some ginger powder? Can we add some garlic powder? This is all up to you guys, okay? Well, what about salt? Should we use salt or should we use soy sauce? That is also a reference up to you. Using soy sauce, some of the Japanese method of making the soup is they use the soy sauce, but in our case we wanted to make it a white soup, so we'll have some salt and some pepper. Go ahead and add some salt, some sea salt, maybe some black or white pepper, as you prefer. And as we mentioned, the secret is now listen carefully. This is a secret, okay? Now the secret of making the eggs very smooth and silky is just adding a little bit of broth with the egg, as you saw. And the other secret is you want to add it slowly, extremely slowly, like have a little bit, maybe small line going into the soup, right? The other tip that I want to give you is do not overcook the eggs. So as soon as you see the liquids being boiling, so go ahead and turn it off. Okay. The other trick is, and this is by using maybe the fork here. So what we want to do, we want to stir the liquid, the boiling liquid, or we want to stir the stock after we turn it off. So right now we are looking at the stock being boiling. We'll go ahead and turn off the heat, and what we want to do, we want to go ahead and stir it really quickly. And this is the trick here. If you don't like to the eggs or the soup to be a silky smooth line, don't do this. Just kind of go ahead and dump the eggs and it will be on the crumpy side. Okay, go ahead and stir this, and what we want to do is we want to stir it quickly and add the eggs really slowly, and you will see it is coming together. Not yet, not yet. Okay, here we go. So some of the lessons that we learned to add a little bit of water or maybe a little bit of the stock with the egg. When we beat it, we add the eggs slowly, and we want to stir the water so it can have that smooth and silky texture. And the last thing that we want to show you is to cut some green onions or scallions or maybe chives. Now this soup is extremely low in cost, and in fact I get surprised from some of the people how when they describe how cheap this soup is or how low cost that it could be prepared. And what they do not look at is actually this soup is actually made free, man. I don't know why people got the idea where we have to pay for food, right? And just to give you an example here, the scallion or the green onion, it comes from the ground for free. You know, what's wrong with we live in the city for so long, we forgot that food comes out for free for us. We only think that food comes from the supermarket. And to prove this, I'm showing you my onion over here. Look at this onion. See, this green stuff comes out for free. I didn't pay for this, right? So let's go ahead and get some of this green scallions or green onions. Go ahead and add it with the soup. And the last thing we do is to put it in a bowl and serve it as is. And the brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you egg drop soup. I guess the Korean style without any cornstarch. Okay? So inshallah, when we come back after the break, let's go ahead and talk and see what the scholars of Islam talked about eggs. Specifically, Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya. Ibn al-Qayyim, he has a book called The Medicine of the Prophet, and he has a whole chapter about eggs. Let's go ahead and get deep with that and see what he says about the topic of eggs. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the second segment of making soup out of eggs. In the first segment we made egg drop soup, which is the Chinese soup that you see in the Chinese buffet restaurant. And we want to talk about using the concept of mayonnaise. Mayonnaise, we did this when we made fish prude, or we used the aioli sauce, which is mayonnaise mixed with garlic, heavy garlic sauce. And we cooked it with the fish sauce a little bit, and there was a concept that well known. I'm going to show you the concept, and you can go ahead and do whatever discoveries that you please.